Good morning and Happy New Year. My name is Angie and I'm with Producers XL, and I am very happy to, I guess, just be here. I don't know where all of you are tuning in from, but we are in the middle of the country. So, yes, we did get the Snowmageddon, and we are sitting with about 8 to 9 inches of snow. And that is not me complaining. I actually enjoy all the seasons of the weather. We just have to slow our vehicles down a little bit when we get this much snow. So hopefully all of you have had a chance to get yourself shoveled out, get your ibuprofen and Tylenol for all the aches and pains as we start to dig out and recover from a weekend like that. And for those of you in the sunny areas with no snow, good on you. I think all of us appreciate that sunshine as well. So, without further ado, excuse me, I want to kick off this new year with a host of things. And kind of my topic for this year or for this January is going to be turning 65 is a financial event, not just a birthday. So, when we think of age 65, right, most people think turning 65 just means that that's when Medicare starts. But what if I told you it's actually one of the biggest financial events of your life? Bigger than retirement for some people. Um, Today, we're going to be talking about why 65 changes everything and what most people don't realize until it's too late. And not just hovering all around Medicare, because, right, there are definitely choices that you have to make when you do turn age 65. So, why does age 65 matter? And I would say most of us are probably in that market, right? We're having clients and prospects in and around that age bracket. Of course, if you're in the disability space, you're in a much younger age demographic. But why age 65 matters, because at age 65, you're making permanent decisions, Medicare choices, income shifts, health qualifications, and insurance eligibility all start to change. And unlike earlier in life, we don't always get a second chance to fix those mistakes. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. So with probably one of the biggest oversights that we are seeing folks make is, here's what surprises most people, is that Medicare does not replace planning. It doesn't protect your spouse, it doesn't leave a legacy, and it doesn't cover everything, right? So we often think about long-term care or chronic care. And one of my other podcasts that I'm going to be doing is does life insurance after the age of 65 even make sense? And I think everybody kind of has their own opinion on that, but where life insurance fits in is that life insurance after age 65 isn't really about income replacement anymore. Yes, that is a part of the planning strategy, but it's really about protection and certainty and control, covering things like final expenses. Those are, you've got guaranteed issue final expense products. So if you're in the Medicare space, you've got products that it doesn't matter what their health looks like, they can still buy some burial insurance or final expense insurance, however you call that. Um, it's also about protecting a spouse. There's a lot of misconceptions around, what does Social Security pay when you lose a spouse? So protecting that spouse when you don't get to collect both Social Security checks upon the death of a spouse. So we can protect a spouse with some tax-free dollars with income, or creating flexibility when healthcare costs show up, which we always know is the case. And I told you I was going to cover a gamut of topics. One of the things that is really kind of interesting is how little dental insurance is sold at age 65. Or I'll even throw in there when people decide to come off of their health insurance, individual health insurance or group health insurance plans, and they transition over into Medicare at whatever age that is, depending on the size of their group and who's primary and who's secondary. But they can't see the value in that. And what's so interesting is your teeth are such an indicator of your future health. So not misplacing dental insurance is really important too, to continue to have our teeth cleaned. And most of us, by the time we reach age 65, more than likely have perio dental care that needs to be done, which is more of a deep cleaning into the gums and such. So when we start thinking about, and I know you guys have all heard this, annuities become a real topic of conversation as well. And I don't know if any of you have heard the phrase of the go-go years, the slow-go years, the no-go years. Well, I was just recently at an annuity conference, and a financial advisor, we all know who this phrase comes from, but he also, as a financial advisor, puts this into his practice when he's talking to his clients. And of course, during the go-go years, we're accumulating our income and we're looking for that guaranteed income stream. The slow-go years, we become a little bit more moderate. And so when we're looking at building these guaranteed income streams, when you're in your retirement phase, you have to plan for your needs. And most people want to plan for their wants. So what you need and what you want are two totally different things. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, and bear with me, I'm going to get to a couple of sales ideas. But, the needs are something that I think a lot of folks overlook. And those are things like your food, your shelter, your healthcare costs, taxes, things of that nature. And we often think that I'm going to slide into Medicare and my healthcare costs are going to be covered. Well, we all know, right, that that is not the case. Medicare doesn't cover extended care needs. There's a lot of things that are gaps with inside of Medicare. So you have to decide whether it's a Medicare supplement, whether it's a Medicare Advantage. What are we doing with their prescription drugs? All of that comes into play. And it's often very overlooked because it's not the prescriptions that will bankrupt a family, but those extended care needs, that chronic care that they need for an extended period of time. Yes, I'm talking about long-term care insurance. And how does that play in? And financial advisors that are doing this complete fiduciary role and looking at all the things that impact those income needs, that has to come into the conversation. And when you think about covering that risk, because that is the largest risk that they will face, and there's a high probability that you'll need extended care. That doesn't mean 10 to 12 years, might not mean 5 to 10 years, but some amount of time where you become chronically ill. We need to have that extended care conversation. And that's where long-term care fits in. But on that same note, what about income planning? And that's where you're finding great opportunities for fixed index annuities, and deciding which one. So I want to give you this sales idea. If you have a piece of paper in front of you, I want you to write down in a vertical line the number 2, the number 3, the number 10, the number 7, the number 52, and the number 20. So if you take all of those numbers, some of them are probably going to sound familiar to you, right? Like 52 weeks in a year, 7 days a week, 2 people, 3 meals a day. That 10 is interesting, right? So if you wanted to go out to eat, $10 a meal. Now, you and I know that you can't even go to McDonald's for 2 people and spend $20 for 2 Big Mac meals. I mean, you're going to spend more than $20. So, and the 20 is for 20 years into retirement. So from age 65 to 85, right? We have income planning strategies. You take all those numbers and you multiply them together and you get $436,800 of income over 20 years at minimum that you're going to need. Well, if you break that down, Divided that 436, divide that by 20 and divide that by 12 months in a year. You're looking at over $1,800 of income a month that you're going to need. A fixed income annuity, by just transitioning, depends on the carrier that you're looking at, $200,000 to $250,000 in a fixed indexed annuity will kick out a lifetime income stream of that $1,800 to guarantee income to cover some of their needs for an income planning strategy. Now, we're having some success having conversations around this, just broaching the topic. Of course, we all know MIGAs are still doing very well. You've got some really nice 5 years out there with some guarantees with bonuses if you don't touch it. Great CD replacements for that. Just simply saying, how are your CDs doing? And then having a conversation about being taxed on the growth versus tax deferral of the growth, right? That's the leverage of a MIGA, a multi-year guaranteed annuity, and repositioning that lazy money for them. There's all kinds of strategies that fit into play when someone is 65, whether it's income planning strategies, it's legacy strategies, and I have a sales idea for that. You know, we've got a little case study for you. We've got, well, we'll just call her Martha. And she's retired. She's secure in her finances. Everything's taken care of. She's got that all covered. But she does want to leave a legacy for some grandkids. And she's got $25,000 just set aside, right? That she's going to earmark in a CD for the grandkids. Well, a couple grandkids. But she's open to other ideas. You can take that 25,000 CD money and reposition it to a single premium whole life policy that will actually double the value, over double the value of over $52,000 worth of guaranteed death benefit, so that when grandma passes away, those grandkids each get, you know, she can name the children the beneficiaries. But what's great about it, right, is she's got that tax-free, the internal rate of return on that death benefit, tax-free is 5.08. The taxable equivalent that you would have to get in that to get that money to do the same thing would be 6.52%. So just simply saying, how are your CDs doing? And what's the purpose of that CD? If I could show you a better, more tax-efficient way to leave a gift for those grandchildren, would you be open to the conversation? And then just talking about the single premium reposition of those CD dollars to help them out with that. So those are a couple of the ideas that I picked up. Of course, I've got pages and pages of all types of things, but I didn't want to overwhelm us today with all of this. I just wanted to kick off the new year, say Happy New Year to all of you, give you a couple of sales ideas where we can reposition some CD money into better leverage for a legacy play, give you an income planning strategy, sales idea on how to drum up those conversations. I do have conversations with several advisors that are like, I don't want in an indexed product. That's fine. We can certainly talk to you about some other fixed product lines. Won't have near the upside, but that's what the index is all about, right? The upside potential, no downside loss. Some people like to say zero is your hero. I don't know how you feel about that, however you position that, but wanted to let you know that there are definitely, when folks are turning 65, if you're in that space, start leading into some of these conversations at age 60, because at 62, a lot of folks know they can start drawing their Social Security early, having that conversation about what does that income look like. You know, if they're self-employed, we need to kind of talk about how those taxes are reported. Does it behoove them to do that early? Of course, almost every calculator is going to tell you to wait till 70 so that you can get that increase year after year from full retirement age to age 70. Some people have different ideas and say, nope, take the money early and let me invest it, and we'll do better than the 8-9% growth that we can get by delaying it to 70. Whatever your philosophy is, really what this is all about is just understanding that turning 65 really isn't just a birthday, albeit it's an exciting one. It is definitely a financial event, right? And there are conversations that we need to have. So if you have clients that are approaching age 65, or if you're helping someone that is transitioning into that next phase and they're looking into all of the financial decisions that they have to make around that, this is the moment to slow down and plan intentionally. Medicare is important, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. And so with that, I want to thank you for joining me. Remember, we'll be doing this again the last Tuesday of every month. So join me and tune in again in February. And you can always find these recorded podcasts on our website, which is producersxl.com. Thank you, and everybody have a wonderful week.